right, my loves, we are live. Welcome back to the Carter Love Talk Show. Today, I'm very, very, very excited to have Marline Ross on here today. We met actually my very first day of being a model on the runway. And I will never forget that she had look at the smile. She had the beautiful smile. She was networking. Okay, she put her business cards on all the tables. Okay, she went downstairs and was networking and doing her thing. Okay, and ever since then. She's been supporting me with every new thing. When I was doing virtual assisting, she supported me. When I started doing commercial branding, she supported me. She supports my modeling career. And so I love her for that, but ultimately, we share a similarity in the fact that we both live with invisible illnesses, but we're out here doing it. We're business owners, we're models, we're actresses, and we're doing our thing. So, welcome, Marlene Ross.
Yes, we're doing it.
Yes.
And I'm gonna continue supporting you. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Yes.
And I'm definitely going to continue supporting you too. So I want to know a little bit more. We hear about sickle cell anemia, and we hear about it being predominantly in the African American community, but we don't dive into that, right? We just see the red ribbon, and we share support. You know what I mean? Let us know a little bit more about that.
well, sickle cell, I don't know. I'll just start kind of from like the baseline for those that probably don't know anything about it. But sickle cell is a genetic illness disease. There's different strands of sickle cell. There's sickle cell anemia, there's sickle cell trait, there's sickle cell thalassemia, and then there's a few other cases of sickle cell as well. I have sickle cell anemia, which is a more severe case of sickle cell. However, everyone is affected differently that lives with sickle cell as well as sickle cell trait. Um, but studies have shown that sickle cell disease is a little bit more severe, but it also is based off of how you handle your body, really. So today, they brought me on here to talk about self care, and that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about how I handle my sickle cell, as well as handling having a business, doing modeling, acting. I'm also a preschool teacher, a nanny, but sickle cell is basically a blood disorder that has to do with your red blood cells. So anything can basically cause your red blood cells to sickle. And when they sickle, they form a crescent shape like a moon shape, and that causes our blood to clot sometimes, or as well as form pain in that area. So, say if my blood wasn't circulating in my arm, I would end up having a pain crisis. That's what we call it, a pain crisis in my arm due to lack of oxygen and blood circulation in my arm. So that's what sickle cell has to. That's how sickle cell we get pain crisis.
Yes.
So that can be caused pretty much any time. Sickle cell comes on when it wants to.
Yeah.
There are triggers that can cause my sickle cell that I tend to watch out for, that I try and stay away from or adjust to monitor how, like for swimming, for example, I was told that I should swim in like a pool or cold water unless it was heated.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up, I learned my body. I learned that being in a pool for a certain amount of minutes for me is 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, it's time for me to generally get out the pool.
Yeah.
I need to rest my body, cool my body down. And if it's a heated pool, maybe a little bit longer,
Mm-hmm.
but just how some people get into swimming for exercise, to me, it's extreme exercise. Like
Yes.
being in a pool, it can cause me to go into a sickle cell crisis.
Yes.
Certain activities can cause me to go into a sickle cell crisis. So that's what I wanted to come on here and share. We both have invisible illnesses that from the outside you can't see that I have
Exactly.
sickle cell.
Exactly.
I look like a perfectly normal person, but
Mm-hmm.
on the in-
Ah, we lost her. All right, she's coming back.
do these interviews sometimes, so people don't see um, the daily struggle. Put it
Yes.
like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I can see it now. Like, why don't you just get? You got to shoot for a swimsuit shoot. Why don't you just get in the pool? Just get in the pool, girl. I
Yeah.
know my body.
Yeah, that's another thing that I face too with modeling and acting. Like certain shoots, like I have to well be more aware of like I can't do everything other models do.
Yes.
And sometimes like I do have to cancel at the last minute and I'm hoping and praying that I'm not like being judged because of that at
Yes.
times. Because even though I'm very upfront about living with sickle cell, I post about sickle cell. I even have a sickle cell camera that I've dedicated to sickle cell warriors and sickle cell awareness month. Um, but some individuals they may not understand your illness
Yeah.
if they don't live with it or if they don't have a sibling or a family member that lives with it.
Exactly. Exactly. And so they see it. Oh, she's making an excuse. Oh, she's flaky. No, baby, I'm not. I'm in pain.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yes, that's crazy. Yeah, and I thank you for sharing some of those challenges that you face that other people are not aware of, or like you said, they don't understand. You know
yes,
what I mean? That you
yeah,
have to move differently. And you said something that was very important, and it was like, I know my body, and it
mhm,
takes that. And I think people don't realize that it takes getting to know yourself. It takes like, okay, well, why did that happen? Why did that pain happen? What did I do
yes,
this
and
differently this
that's
time?
yeah, that's actually very, very important to know your body because, like, growing up, I was always like, I wanted to do this or do what the other kids were doing, and I was like, well, why can't I ride my bike for an hour or 2 hours without getting tired, or why
Yeah.
can't I get in the pool without having a pain crisis?
Yeah.
Always wondering like, why why is this happening to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
But luckily, like my mom, she was very adamant about teaching me to learn my body and to also teach me, even though the doctors tell me. And I think this is really, really important. So, even though a doctor may tell you something about your body, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't do something
Exactly.
or not to still try it. Like for
Yeah.
swimming, I've adjusted and I learned how to adapt to swimming and making sure it doesn't trigger my body.
Exactly.
Um, but like I mentioned before, sometimes even though I may do prepare myself and still get out of the pool at a certain amount of time and wrap up, keep myself warm and stuff. Sometimes a sickle cell crisis may still happen. I
Yeah.
can't always um, not prevent one,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I know my triggers now. Now that I'm an adult, I know my triggers. So being aware of that and being more cautious.
Yes. 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 And that's very important because through me learning about my illness, um, I really had to advocate for myself. I really had to get out there and get the knowledge for myself, and like you said, trial and error a little bit with my body,
Yeah.
but not too much to where like I'm damaging myself, but knowing what's for me, because
Right.
doctors, they have a general idea. Generally,
Hmm.
this happens when you have this illness. You know what I mean? they only know
Mhm.
that, but they don't know you as an individual. And then, you know,
Yeah.
there, we all have different diets and different genes and different this, and there's just so
Mhm.
much that factors into that that they can't zero in on with everybody.
Y- Yes, and that's very true. And
Yeah.
like all of us, even though we may have an illness, like you mentioned, you have PCOS. Everyone suffers from that differently.
Yes. Yes.
For me, I have sickle cell, but I also know a few sickle cell warriors that can get into the pool without any problem. But for me, it's a trigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things I always tell they call them sisters, like cuz the cyst. So with the women who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS,
Okay.
that is one of the things that I always tell them you have to do what's best for you. Cuz for me, girl, I don't do artificial anything, no artificial fragrances, no
Mhm.
sprays, no candles. That's why I love your brand. I don't do artificial
Mhm. Thank
anything.
you.
Same thing with
Yeah.
food. You know what I mean? And like, so I share these things with other women because all of that stuff affects your hormones, and we're not aware of that.
Yes.
You know, and so I
That's
share this with other sisters, and they're like, oh, but the perfume is gonna be hard, and the dairy, and I'm like, you have to do what's best for you. I feel like if
yeah.
you just start slowly minimizing some of the stuff that's not necessary, like maybe changing your cleaning products. Maybe you still pour perfume, but your cleaning products are different. Maybe you switch to
Yeah.
one of the Spoiled Pleasures candles instead of going to Bath and Body Works. You know what I'm saying? You
I
know,
got them right.
just small changes that are going to now help your hormones to balance out naturally. You know what I mean? And so
Yes.
that's what I
Yes.
just try to inform people, like, you don't have to do what I do. You got to listen to your
Right.
body and do what's best for you.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And
So,
that's very important. Like, cause I tell people all the time, like, 'cause I have a few sickle cell friends and associates as well, in the sickle cell community, and they're like, "Well, I noticed that you rarely go to the hospital. Like, what do you do?" And like, I'll tell them all the time, "This is what works for me, and this is what doesn't work for me. But you also have to test it out."
yeah,
Like, 'cause what works for me may not work for you. And I
exactly.
hear, like you mentioned, like having a clean diet and stuff like that. Like, I know that would probably work for me, but like I'm a foodie. I
Yeah.
love all types of food. I don't think I could change my diet,
Yeah, yeah.
but I know other people who have sickle cell, like I said, they've changed their diet and they feel much better.
Yeah, exactly.
Like me, I've got into herbs and stuff like that, and I do yoga, meditation. I practice all of that, but having to change my diet, I'm not sure if I'm there yet.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
So
usually
I
the biggest
recommend to
thing.
any of those that have changed their diet for their health.
Yes, that's usually the greatest thing, especially because our diet starts when we're young. We're eating what
Yes.
our parents eat, we're eating what our grandparents eat. We're eating all this stuff and we've been eating it for years. So it's hard to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to eat like that anymore." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think my biggest motivator was it was impacting my ability to have children
Mm.
because PCOS affects your sex hormones. So if my testosterone is too high and my estrogen is too low and I'm not having a regular period, then now
Yeah.
I don't have that egg dropping baby. So where's the baby gonna come from? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it was affecting that. And then because of the weight was coming on more and more, it was just going to become harder and harder for me to have children without
Mm.
consulting with a doctor. And even with consulting with a doctor, it could still be challenging. You know what I mean? um
Yeah.
so for me, that was my biggest motivator, but it was still hard. It was still hard because I'm a foodie too, girl. i love
Yeah.
i
I
love
totally imagine.
food.
Yeah. And I
What
know if it was, I mean, regardless, I know health wise, I mean, it's still considered life and death. But like,
yes.
if it was more so like my doctor came to me and was like, you need to change your diet now, I would definitely do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand that. Like you said, you have other things that are working for you, so you like, I don't
Yeah,
necessarily need to cut that out.
yeah, definitely, yes.
Yeah, so for me, I what I've been doing is finding ways to make my food delicious. And just recently in March I transitioned
Mm,
to letting go of meat. So I've been eating less meat, focusing on fruits, veggies, grains, nuts, things like that. And that's been a
oh,
transition,
girl.
and so girl, I was like, Deshay, how are you gonna try all these bomb restaurants you've been saving all this time and you're not eating meat no more?
For real.
I have all these on my events Instagram. I have all these restaurants I have saved that I was planning on going to. I'm like, I
You
can't eat
sound like
that.
me.
Can't eat that.
Girl, I got so many darn screenshots of different restaurants I want to go to, and I follow all these little different foodie people, and I be like, oh, let me take a picture of that. Let me go.
Yes, girl, it's
I
bad,
probably got
but
at least like 30 something things in my phone, places I need to go to and go eat that.
yes, my goodness. I'm like, oh, but I
Girl,
just
one
for
day I'm
me,
about to say we gonna have to hook up and go somewhere and eat.
we definitely need to do that. That
Yeah.
definitely needs to happen. And we haven't shot together. I feel like that would be good for my anniversary in July. I think in July I'll hit 3 years of modeling, and that was like I said, I met you my first. I call that my official first
Yes.
year of modeling because I was when I was modeling out in the open with everyone. It wasn't just at home or doing a photo shoot with
Uh-huh.
a friend. So yes.
We definitely do. I like that idea.
Yes, definitely for our
We could
brands
do
too.
it all in one day or separate it
That
or
part,
whatever.
that part. Yes, just a field day.
Right?
So I want to know, what are some of the misconceptions that occur for you? So for me, when I was diagnosed, I remember this as clear as day. My brother goes, "But sis, you ain't got no like facial hair." He was like, "Most girls I know who have PCOS, they got like beards and stuff and chin hairs and stuff." And I was like, "I
Mm.
know, but I still have PCOS."
Yes.
So what are some of those that you experience?
um, I've experienced more things in middle school, I would say. Uh, not how can I explain it? Not necessarily things up your alley as far as like you mentioned people having this with this type of illness. But for me, it was more so in middle school, other students asking, oh, why do I get to take more breaks? Or why don't I have to run as long? Um, and then in high school as well as college, I had accommodation.
Mm.
So I would get to take my test in a private room, or if I was sick or in the hospital, I was able to make up my test.
Yes.
And I know like most people, if they were just out, they couldn't make up their test.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had accommodations both in high school, well, all the way from middle school all the way up to college until I graduated, basically. Um, what else? Oh, you mentioned when we first got on here, basically being typically a black disease, it is dominantly black, but there are other races that have it. All races can have sickle cell. I've also been asked if sickle cell was contagious before, and it's not. It's like I mentioned previously, it's passed down by my parents. So both my mom and dad have the trait, and I ended up getting full-blown sickle cell disease,
Mm-hmm.
also known as sickle cell anemia.
Mm-hmm. So when did you have your first flare up? When your parents were like, "Okay, no, we have to move differently with this child."
6 months.
Wow.
So I was diagnosed. Actually, no, I take that back. I was actually diagnosed at 6 months. and I believe I had my first sickle cell crisis slash flare up around 8 months.
Wow.
And I've been hospitalized. I'm 39 years old, about to be 40 in January. But I've been hospitalized over probably 400 something times in my life.
Wow.
Having sickle cell, like I mentioned, it comes when it wants to.
Yeah.
Cold weather is another factor for me, as well as extreme temperatures like Vegas. When I went to Vegas for the first time, it triggered my sickle cell because
Yeah.
of the extreme heat, the desert
Yeah.
heat.
Yeah.
Also found out going to Lake Tahoe for the first time, elevation.
Yeah.
Like I was sure elevation was a factor. Like I've traveled multiple times. And I know it's a crisis being on an airplane, being in high altitudes and stuff. But when I went to Tahoe for the first time, I had a pain crisis.
Mm.
So, just things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are some of the other factors, and how do you cope with them? So, you said when you were in Vegas, that extreme heat affected you, but how were you able to move past that, or did you have to go home? Like, what did that look like?
For me, well, the Vegas trip, I just made sure I stayed hydrated, drank plenty of water, tried to find shade as much as possible, so staying inside of buildings where there was air conditioning, less alcohol when you go on those type of trips.
Yeah.
um, what else played a factor? Also, like traveling wise, I have to be aware of clothing, like in extreme temperatures, less clothing. If it's super cold, layers.
Yes.
So things like that.
Yes, yes. So we mentioned temperature and elevation; those are major factors. What are some other factors?
Dehydration, stress, which stress could be a cause for anyone.
Girl, yes.
Self care.
Yes.
But
Why do you keep doing that?
cold, like extreme activities.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, like with swimming, I need to monitor myself in the pool. Like if I go bike riding, take breaks here and there, maybe.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, that makes sense. And then it's just that's the other thing I feel like that will be misconcepted is what's extreme to you may not be extreme to someone else, and they're not understanding that. Because like you said, extreme activities, the pool is extreme activity for you. For somebody else, that I do this every day. Okay, baby, that's you.
Exactly. Like I've done like horseback riding a few times, and I was just like, after the about the fourth time I've done horseback riding, I was just like, you know what? This is not for me. I noticed every time I do horseback riding, it triggers my sickle cell.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's no matter how long the ride is, it's just like the bump for horseback
Yeah.
riding. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Like I already have like that's another thing. I was diagnosed with chronic back pain. So
Yes.
certain activities that also plays a factor.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, what does your self care routine look like?
That definitely is relevant because some people may be like, well, how with the modeling?
Yeah.
Pretty sure like you get invited to like a lot of modeling events and stuff. But for me, like with sickle cell, it also causes fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't just get up and just go. Like I'm the type of person I need to plan at least 2 weeks in advance.
Yes.
But okay, there's a modeling event coming up. let me make sure I'm hydrating myself. Let me make sure I'm resting and I'm not doing too much. So when this day comes, my body, I can have enough energy for this event.
Yes.
Like I need to prepare myself for every event that I go to.
Yes. Yes. Yes, and that's a good point to make because in the modeling industry, a lot of stuff can be last minute, and they're just expecting you to be ready. And if you're not
Yeah.
ready, oh, I can't call her because she can't come, baby. You told me an hour ago that the event is in 2 hours.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah,
and then
like
call
for
time.
me,
Yes.
I'm not one of those models because I live with that invisible illness.
Yes. Yes. And then call time be at 12, but the show don't start till 4. So we sitting there in hair and
Yeah, and
makeup,
that's another thing for me
starving.
too. Like I need to be able to sit down sometimes. Like I can't just be standing up, standing in line, waiting for me to go on stage
Yep.
and do my walk, you know? So
Yes. Yes.
luckily, I've been able to work with people who have been understanding,
Exactly.
and as well as I haven't had a crisis. I think maybe probably since I've been modeling on and off, as well as doing acting for a little over 15 years, maybe a little bit longer. But both of them, well, modeling I started first, and then I got into acting. But both of them, I think I've only missed probably 1 to 2 events because
Yeah.
of my sickle cell, so I had to cancel at the last minute.
Yes.
But like I mentioned, if I plan ahead and they
Yes.
plan ahead, and I know, then I can kind of prepare myself.
Yes, it sounds like a lot of optimum self-care. And so I'm
Yeah.
curious to know what is self-care for you? What are some things that have to be on your list because of the trait that you have? And what are some things
Mhm.
that, you just like to have on there?
Yeah. Well, I have full blown on sickle cell. The trait is sickle cell trait and then sickle cell anemia.
Yes.
I have sickle cell anemia, but some self care tips for myself that I do is hydration. I'm not a big water drinker, but I always do carry and have some type of iron water always everywhere that I go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm anemic, which means I'm always cold. So 70-degree weather or under, I'm cold.
Yeah.
So I do dress in layers. I always carry a jacket everywhere I go. Self care also for me, besides just hydration and making sure I'm warm, means having a healthy meal, making sure I'm eating enough a day, exercising, stretching, meditation. It also is mental
Yes.
and spiritual as well for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know everyone's not religious, but for me, I pray, I read my
Yes.
Bible, I go to church. Also practice meditation. Meditation for me is every day,
Yes.
regardless if I practice it in the morning or if I practice at night before bed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, also like to do my Epsom salt baths,
Yes.
which I try and do maybe 2 to 3 times a month.
Mm-hmm.
I always, have my candles for my aromatherapy,
Yes.
and also self care is being around loved ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure.
So making sure I'm not just work, 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 but also getting out and having fun.
Yes. I think that's a big thing because with the careers that we're in, I'm pursuing fame. Okay, I want to be
Yeah,
known.
you're doing your thing, girl.
Thank you. But I want to be known. You know what I mean? I want to be known, and my modeling has been very healing for me, and I get feedback from other women, and it's healing for them, and I want that to be on a grander scale. You know what I mean? And so when we have these big goals, we always think, oh, we don't have time for play, we don't have time to hang out, we don't have time to have fun, we about
Yeah.
business. But the reality is that creativity, that self-care, that self-love that comes from spending time with people we love, from enjoying things, having fun, you know what I mean, going to an event that's not a business mixer because we want to have fun, you know what I mean,
Yes.
doing those things is self-care, is self-love, is benefiting the dream. And we lose focus of that. We just want to be all in work mode. Oh, I'll have time for that
Yeah.
later on. Maybe you not, maybe you won't have time for that later on, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you mentioned that as part of your self-care routine, because it's very important. It's something that we don't think about as self-care, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
We
and
think,
that's very important because that is definitely like self care.
yes,
And what
yes,
I always try and tell people is like you can't take if you're not healed or if you're not up to 100%, you can't do for others.
exactly, exactly.
So you can't put out if you're not taking care of yourself.
Exactly. And connecting with others is a part of taking care of yourself. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. You know, I think we're
Yes,
taught,
exactly. It's
yeah,
like when you fly, they tell you put your mask on first and then help the person next to you. That's
yes,
what you need to do. You need to take care of yourself, put that mask on, take care of yourself so you can help others, help the other community,
exactly.
help the community.
Exactly, exactly. And be a part of the community instead of just trying to be, oh, I got it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I got it by myself. I got it by myself. Because you might have it by yourself, but like I said, it takes a toll. It takes a toll when you're not enjoying life. You're just
Yes.
working. I gotta make it. I gotta make it. And I understand because I understand the financial issues. I understand, you just want to make it out of here, and be
Mm-hmm.
on a higher level. You want to change things for your family and yourself. But at the same time, you can't, like you say, you can't do that if you burnt out and you need
Yes,
positive people
exactly.
around you to help you like stay uplifted and motivated. And yeah, we doing it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I'm glad that's part
And
of
it
your
definitely
self care.
it takes a village, like they all say.
Yes. Yes. And we minimize that to children, but it takes a village for us too. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Especially as
Yeah.
business owners too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So
Yeah, and that's
go ahead.
another thing like I wanted to say too, because I definitely appreciate you for all the different platforms that you put out there for many multiple entrepreneurs and individuals like
Thank you.
myself. Like I mentioned, I met you doing through modeling. So we share that in common.
Yes.
Acting, we share in common, and then I've also worked with you to help my brand as well. And now I'm on this platform with you, doing a podcast. So thank you for having all these different platforms to help entrepreneurs.
Yes, you're so welcome. That's one of my deepest passions. My mom was an entrepreneur, and so it's in my blood. And I've always have these different ideas for different brands to elevate. And I've done consulting a little bit, and so I'm always
Uh,
like, yes, let's elevate, let's go, let's grow. And like I said, when we
yeah.
were talking earlier, like a commercial branding shoot with both of our brands, yes, it's happening. I'm sorry, it's already happening. The mood
Mm-hmm.
board will be I will be making the mood board soon, and I will send it to you because it's
Mm-hmm.
it's that's what it's about. It's about community. It's
Yeah.
about uplifting each other. It's about being also aware of what one another are going through. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
you
Yes.
even like there's mental illness, there's emotional, there's these physical illnesses that we deal with that are invisible to the naked eye. There's all these
Mm-hmm.
things, and yes, we can make it on our own, but why should we have to? When we can
Exactly.
benefit one another, we can both be elevated together.
Yeah. And one thing about that is like a lot of I'm happy that there's so many different social media groups too as well that I've noticed out there that help entrepreneurs. And then there's also different groups that you can join to ask for advice.
Yes.
Um, so all these different platforms, there's so many ways to connect with people
Yes.
now.
Yes. And I love that because I don't think that was, there's a lot that was done back then before internet was so predominant that was very
Yeah.
helpful, like word of mouth, passing out flyers, connecting with your clients. But there's so
Mhm.
much now that gives us more access. Like everyone, just about everyone that's been on this talk show, I met them online. And I, some of them I have not met in real life, but
Yeah.
I have learned from them over years. We've developed a relationship online through networking. I see their gift.
Yeah.
I've learned from their gift, and I'm like, you have to come on the show.
Yeah.
Same,
Same for me. Same for
yes.
me.
So
I've
I
definitely learned from people that I haven't met yet.
yes, and I love that, and I think it's powerful. I think the internet, when used correctly or when used efficiently or effectively, it can have a great impact on your life in every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So I just want to, because we are in the creative entertainment community. I want to hear from you what you think can be done to support those of us who have invisible illnesses.
Mm. That is a very, very good question. Well, I think the first step is for a lot of these events to be a little bit more organized and not calling anyone out, but just
No,
for these
yeah.
events to be a little bit more organized in general. Um, One being that the models, we generally have rehearsal, we have a call time, and the call times are generally 4 hours before the event even starts.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for those with disabilities like myself and like you, to be more aware of locations for wheelchair accessible people as well, um, more seating. I've also attended a few modeling events that didn't even have food. Like for me, I need to eat. To like I mentioned, I get very fatigued,
Mm-hmm.
so I need to keep food in me to get that energy.
Yep.
So having food on site, having water,
Yes. Yes.
um, being more considerate of people's time,
Yep.
maybe breaking groups up like for rehearsal, maybe breaking like they do for graduation, for example,
Mm-hmm.
breaking the models up. Models A through F come at this time for
Yep.
rehearsal. Models through blah 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 come at this time for rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a full day for
Yeah.
30 to 100 something models.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could be something else that they implement. I haven't really thought about this per se, but that is a very, very good question. There's
Yeah.
probably more things that may pop up later,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think those are the things that I would start off with.
Yep. I agree 100%, because the reality is, honestly, those are basic needs for all of us. Those with us with invisible illnesses are not. And I feel like as
Yeah.
models and actresses and actors, I feel like, okay, the acting is slightly different because it's a whole thing. You might have to do more than one take. So, but
Yeah.
still having those things to support the cast, right? Having water,
Mhm.
having food, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
not specifically catering to us, but having food that's not just like, sugary or dry, like, not just having chips
Yeah.
or bagels, like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Having something that's actually nourishing, that's going to make us feel good on set, especially
Mhm.
because a lot of these modeling gigs, we're not getting paid for. We're doing it for visibility.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I especially with acting, I know for sure with acting because of all the different takes, the different angles and stuff. I was on set for 11 hours for one shoot.
Yeah.
No food, had water here and there, but 11 hours, and then majority of the time I was on my feet.
Yeah. Exactly.
Luckily, I did not go into a pain crisis,
Yeah.
but I had to take pain. What I did was I took pain medication because I knew being on my feet for certain periods triggers a pain crisis.
Exactly.
So I was like,
Exactly.
before I get a pain crisis, I'm just going to take some pain
Yep.
medication.
Yep.
So that's what I did in that particular situation. But sometimes I'll do like some stretches, meditation, or take a Epsom salt bath or something like that if I have the time.
Yes. Yes.
But
But
yeah, being more accommodating for or
mhm.
being more aware of
Yeah.
individuals with disabilities. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy modeling, I enjoy acting. If I could do it full time, I would love to do it full
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, just more being more mindful of taking care of your staff, especially because they working for free. That's the
Yes,
biggest thing for me.
exactly.
You can provide some water, some food. You can be mindful of our time because for us to be there to get
Yeah.
our makeup done at 3, I mean 12,
Mhm.
and the show don't start till 5 or 6, baby. We should at least have
Yeah.
some, especially because sometimes they don't want you to leave. They don't want you to leave.
Yeah, and that's another that's
Yeah.
another thing too. Like for me, like I'm like, okay, after a certain amount of time, and that's another thing I kind of look for too, like with modeling and acting jobs. Um, Paying attention to my body, practicing self care, awareness. Uh, 11-hour shoot, that was very tough on my body. Like
Yeah.
I had to sit down a lot. I found my back hurting, my legs were hurting. By the end of the day, I didn't have like a full blown sickle cell crisis,
Yeah.
but it was a lot on my body. And then with
Yeah.
the modeling event, we both mentioned having to stand for long periods, or even after the event, they don't want you to leave. They want photos. They want you to be
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes you have like little red carpet
Yep.
interviews.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of different things that go on behind the scenes of modeling and acting, and being more accommodating to the actors or and the models would be very considerate
Yeah.
at a lot of these events.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree 100%. And then also, because most of the time we're doing that in heels. And we're doing that in our highest
Yes,
heels.
and that's
Okay,
the other
baby?
thing. That's the other thing. Yes, wear heels.
Yes, we're doing that in our highest heels. Because with
Don't
PC,
forget to mention that.
yes,
Yes.
with PCOS,
Uh-huh.
I live with a lot of inflammation. It's specifically
Mm.
in my stomach area, but I live with inflammation in my body. And so it's
And
hard.
that's true for people with sickle cell as well. So,
Yes. So
yep.
yeah, it becomes challenging, and certain foods can be, and I make sure I bring like you do. I bring my own stuff and things like that. But there's basic care that's not given to any of the models that would benefit those with disabilities and without, and it would make a smoother process. Not to mention, I feel like we would come back more frequently because we would know, okay,
Yeah,
that designer
definitely.
takes care of us. You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
production crew, they
definitely.
take care of us.
Yeah.
So
Like I was on set for a music video shoot, and I came in, the lady grabbed my bag. She was like, "Okay, we're going up here." There was another person that came and it escorted me up the stairs. I got water. They were like, "There's a food area back there." They set me down at one area, started doing my makeup. Once my makeup was done, I went to another location, got my hair done, and I was just like, I will come back. Y'all,
yes,
please, y'all look out for me, hire me
yes,
again, because this type of accommodations, I was just in awe.
yes,
But like, there's certain places like you do modeling or acting, and You don't get those type of accommodations.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
and with modeling, sometimes you're providing your own clothes.
Yep. Yep.
So having lugged around a suitcase in some heels, like you mentioned.
Exactly. And having multiple heels. You got all those shoes in your bag too. Cause you gotta I like to carry, a black,
Yeah.
a boot, having a basic color and then having an extravagant color,
Mm-hmm.
having some tennis shoes. You never know what they're gonna put you in.
Exactly.
Having
Yep.
all of those, having backup underwear, having backup bra, having your makeup bag,
Yes.
having, if you wear wigs and you can switch them up, having all of that. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
For free.
Yeah. And for free. Don't forget that. Because I mean there are a few paid modeling jobs out there. But for me, majority of them have been for free as well.
Yeah, because you
So
got to build the portfolio and get recognized, and people need to see who you are and what you're doing, and they want to
yeah.
know all. It's just like a resume. They want to know all that before they're
Um,
paying you. So it makes sense,
exactly.
but after a while, I feel like it gets taken advantage of, especially when you're not being taken care of, whether you have an illness
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, some of the stuff that we would need is just
Mm-hmm.
basic stuff. Have some
Yeah.
water, have some food, have enough seats for us to sit down and rest. Allow us to
Mm-hmm.
rest because we're here for all these hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's another thing too, because like behind the scenes, like when the models aren't on stage walking, we're rushing to get dressed. We're rushing to put on some heels, or someone's touching up our makeup if there's a
Yeah.
makeup artist. And if there's not a makeup artist, we're having to touch up our own makeup, or
Yeah.
making sure our hair is still laid flat, or
Yes.
looking correctly, or trying to switch it up because
Yes.
of the outfit that we're in. Our hair may look better up, or so
Yes.
it's a lot. It's like mentally and physically too, honestly, because um you're rushing, like you mentioned. Your heart rate elevated.
Yeah. And then you still
You're
gotta go on
also like,
stage and
okay,
look and
let me
pull it
hurry up,
off.
put this outfit on. Let me hurry up and make sure I'm okay with it. And
Yes.
then you have the other person, hey, hey, your next, hurry up.
Yeah. And then you gotta go on stage like none of that happened.
Yeah,
Like I was not just frazzled in the background.
exactly.
I didn't just get fussed out by the designer because I'm fixing my makeup.
Right, I didn't have so many talks behind the curtain. Yes.
Well, I'm so glad we got to have this talk, and I'm hoping that from this talk we have raised some awareness and some curiosity. So now we can get some people asking us questions, and we can come on and do this again because it's important. It's important that we're all supported, and like I said before. Just because we got an illness don't mean we can't show off these talents and live this dream. You know what I mean? But it
Right?
means that we should be supported just like other people should be
Yeah.
supported. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I love closing out with getting my guest speakers favorite affirmation before I do my affirmation. So what affirmation or a quote that carries you through, that helps you?
Mm. The one that's always sticks out to me the most, I got from a book, and I don't know why I cannot think of the name of the book right now. It has something frog in it, a frog title,
Hmm.
and it's a very, very popular self-help book. But something that I live by is, even if you have to complete something for 5 minutes a day to get something done, do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I have been living by. Even like, read a book 5 minutes,
Yes.
exercise for 5 minutes, meditate for 5 minutes. If you want to increase that, 10 minutes, do
Yes.
something,
Yes.
but be productive. Even if it takes you a year to finish a task. That 10 minutes per day is one step closer to finishing something.
Yes, yes. Just start and do it 5 minutes at a time.
Yes,
I love
just
that.
start.
And I feel like that gives guidance to the take it one step at a time. Because you can say take it one step at a time, take it one day at a time. What does that mean? 5 minutes, baby.
Yeah,
That's what it means.
exactly.
Just give yourself
And
five
that's
minutes.
also another thing that I live by because living with a disability, I have to take things one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like, I find myself always, when I have good days, I'm completing a whole bunch of different candle, stocking up on my candle stuff, or completing candle orders, or running errands because I'm like, okay, I feel good today. Let me do this. Let me do that.
Yes.
But sometimes just doing an activity for that 10 minutes is enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I can agree with that too. Because for me, I'm like, oh, I got a good pace. I'm productive today. I'm gonna spend this time to get more done. No, baby, you need to take care of yourself.
Exactly. Yes. That's what we all here for, self-care.
Like that doesn't mean more work. That means more self care. That means that okay, maybe I get to soak my feet today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that is wonderful. I'm going to close out with our affirmations. You guys, remember that you are worthy, 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 worthy always. You are worthy of self care, whether you have an illness or not. You are worthy of being seen. Being seen. Being seen. Your pain is worthy of being seen. Your voice is worthy of being heard. You are worthy of being seen. Okay? It is important that the people that you work with, the people that you are connected to, your friends, your family, your loved ones, your followers, that they show you that you are seen for who you are and you are accepted for who you are. If they don't, they're not for you, and that's okay. You are worthy of your dreams, your wildest dreams. You can pursue them. It doesn't matter if you have an illness, if you got some trauma, some stuff you still working out, baby, you're worthy of it. You're worthy of success. You're worthy of support. You're worthy of human connection and human kindness. You really are. You are worthy of unconditional self care. You don't need no reason to take care of yourself, baby. You're worthy of unconditional self love. And we are so lucky to have had you listening on here with us today, listening to our story. Please send us your any questions you may have for myself, Deshae Carter, or Marline Ross. Please ask us. We both have self-care brands. So hers is, go ahead and say, Spoiled Pleasures.
Yeah, so my brand is Spoiled Pleasures. I make candles and other relaxation products. You can find me at Spoiled Pleasures and at Spoiled Pleasures underscore on Facebook.
Yes.
SpoiledPleasures.com is my website. You can't even see this. But yes,
Yes.
Spoiled Pleasures is
Yes.
my brand.
All you have to do is search it. It's going to pop right up, okay? We both have self-care collections, and we are all about self-care and educating people and loving on people. Like I said, this was one of my biggest supporters, and so let's show her some support. Let's go follow her page. Let's go buy some candles and some bath bombs. You know what I'm saying? All right, you guys.
I got my Father's Day candles out now too, y'all.
Yes.
For Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day is coming up, you guys. So thank you so much for listening to us, and we will see you next time.